You can see I have a few degrees.
Yeah.
I have an undergraduate degree in mathematics and economics, a master's degree in agricultural food and resource economics from Michigan State, and a PhD in business administration from Arizona State University. But somehow, in that long list of education, I never had a personal finance class. Well, I think getting the students interested in it is a good start. But with personal finance, that should be easy, because it's like, do you want to have a life where you can afford it and retire? And if you're good at investing, that's the best way to actually making a bunch of money and being wealthy. Like, who doesn't want to have more money to less? If you want to have more money to less, you should be interested in learning personal finance. So getting students to want to learn about it. But fitting it into a curriculum, like you said, you can fit it into almost any curriculum that you have. It's easy as an economics department to fit it into a curriculum.
Welcome to Catching Up to Fi, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to Fi together.
Hello, and welcome back to Catching Up to Fi. It's Financial Literacy Month, and for Jackie, this is like Christmas for you, right?
It is. You see, I have on my green if you're on YouTube, but April is Financial Literacy Month. This may drop the Sunday before, but we're so excited about it and about this interview that we did on location in Knoxville, Tennessee, because we met up and have worked with an extraordinary professor, Dr. Karen DeLong.
Yeah. Do you wish you had financial education in school, high school, college? Well, Karen DeLong is on the cutting edge here. But Jackie, how did this come about? This is an interesting story.
It's always so interesting how we connect with these people. And I have a feeling that a lot of our audience, they have the heart of a teacher and they want to share the financial education that they have learned. So the way I know Dr. Karen DeLong is that I've mentioned many times that I'm a part of BetterInvesting, and her aunt, her name is Eve Lewis, actually was chairman of the board of directors. I joined the board of BetterInvesting, and that's how I met her. And so a few years later, her niece, Dr. Karen DeLong, she got her master's degree, PhD. She's a professor now at University of Knoxville. And she wanted to make sure that her students not only graduated with a college degree, but also financial education. And she wasn't sure how to do it. So she reached out to her Aunt Eve, me, and another BetterInvesting director. We did these sessions virtual. I think we started in maybe 2021 or something like that. We did it for 3 years online. And we just wanted to give them a session on investing and helping them learn about basic personal finance. And it worked great. But 2 years ago, she invited me to come in person, and the other two couldn't come. So I said, hey, my partner, my co-host, Bill Yount, is awesome, and he's just as strong of a financial literacy advocate as I am. What do you think? And you came along.
Yeah, Jackie invited me to do it in person. I was honored. Doctor means teacher, and I'm all about financial wellness and literacy now. That's where I'm transitioning, just like Jackie and her retirement. So the opportunity to get up in front of a classroom, although a little bit intimidating, everybody in our community is in some way, shape, or form an expert. They've entered the community. Even if you're a beginner, you know about the basics of saving and investing. Then the intermediates have a little more knowledge. And then as you get more advanced, maybe you can have higher level conversations. But we want to encourage everybody to do this because this lit me up. I had goosebumps after this session, okay? And it's not that hard. What we did before we went in was asked Dr. DeLong to garner questions from the students. She was giving them an exam. She made it a bonus question, and they all wrote down the things they were curious about. And guess what? They were all questions I had when I was 20 years old. They were very advanced questions. It wasn't just simple stuff. We're going to tell them what they need to know. And Jackie, tell us how we did this. And it's always great to see you anyway.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I got to see Bill in person, so that was a bonus. We had lunch and everything afterwards. But the magic was that Dr. DeLong did make that an exam question. And so everyone, I think, had to ask at least 2 questions. And the reason why some of those questions were so good, Bill, is because she does a little personal finance class for them before we ever come in. And there's 2 reasons we wanted to bring this interview to you. The first one was Dr. DeLong and the great work that she has done to make sure that her students be financially literate as they go out and conquer the world after graduation, but also to inspire you, whatever little part of the world that you might have control over. Maybe it's something in the community. Maybe it's your kid's high school or college or something like that. You can make a difference. And Dr. DeLong has done that to the point where she actually got a grant from
Farm Credit Mid-America.
Yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to them because they are supporting what she is doing. And because I've worked with her for 5 years on doing this, and you've worked with her for 2 years, we wanted to say, how are you doing this? Share with us why this is important to you. And she did tell us, Bill, that it was crazy that she had 3 degrees. 1, 2, 3. She had a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD, and no class on personal finance.
Well, she also has a degree in agricultural economics, which there was a high level there, but she had questions about her own personal financial situation. And, she asked us too after the fact, and we gave her a little advice and help, and she made immediate changes. She's like, yeah, this is great. I love the advice. And you can do these things. There's a lot of friction into making change. There's a lot of friction to logging into your 401k and reading the document and the plan. And we are going to help people clean up their messy 401k this month. And there are lots of questions people have entering the workforce. One woman had a question about, okay, how do we merge finances if we get married? And how does that look? And I was like, okay, this isn't just about buying a stock. This is about how do I live my best financial life. It was very meaningful. And they may not have remembered one thing from our class, but I think we were able to light a fire under them to get involved in this and to see through our own stories, our own examples, and a few basic facts that this is well within their reach. Financial independence is a worthy goal for everybody. And although they're just starting, they need to reverse engineer this so they get where they want to go at the time they want to get there. Because it's just math from the investing side, but there's a lot of nuance there. And Dr. DeLong is really prescient because I want to see more teachers do this. In our financial or in our Facebook group, somebody said, yeah, my son is at UT and he is a business major. I want you to come to their class. And I said, you know what? Talk to Dr. DeLong. Be happy to. I'll do it again.
Yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. And Bill, we got some good questions. I don't know if you had a favorite, but one of my favorite was a student asked, so what do I do with my 401k when I leave my job? Because that person realized that they're probably going to change jobs quite often. Actually, the average person changes jobs 12 times during their working career. So that becomes a big issue. So I love that question. We talked through that with her. We weren't able to get to all of them, but we're going to do something special. So let's talk about what we plan on doing in April for Financial Literacy Month. Bill, I've been very frustrated with 401ks and all the friction and how most people don't understand their 401k because it's way more complicated than it needs to be. So a lot of people's 401k and similar employer-sponsored retirement plans get real messy real fast. So I'm going to show you how to clean up your 401k in less than an hour. And I want this to be like a big, fun group activity that we do in April. And we're also going to talk to the kids too, right? Not the kids. I need to correct that language. We need to talk to these students, these brilliant adults that are about to graduate, about what they think about financial education and what they've learned, right?
Yeah, I've not heard this done in the space. And I had the idea and I shared it with you and I shared it with Dr. DeLong. I was like, you know what? There are too many questions to answer in 1.5 hour session. What if we invite 2 of your students with you on the show, do this, and they got excited. We had them sign up to do this. We're going to have them on the show. It's going to probably be their first podcast ever. And we're going to go through that list of questions. And I hope this episode becomes sort of fodder for any 20-something to listen to, and actually for any late starter, because these are common questions, and we're going to address them in a podcast that's going to be designed for people that are waking up and want to figure out how to organize their financial life. I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, you got to stick with us all month long in April. This is one, if not all of them that we do in April that you want to share. We are on YouTube. That's where you can ask your questions. We'll be answering your questions. And if you're doing anything cool for Financial Literacy Month, please drop it in the comments on YouTube so that others can see it. But this is something that is really at the core of our financial literacy advocacy. And this is why we even do this podcast. So it was so much fun, Bill, not just to see you, but to see Dr. DeLong, to see the students, and to really watch people change their lives because of being financially literate. So I can see them coming back, as Karen mentioned, where they will ask her questions even after they've graduated and things like that. So she is making a difference in the lives of those students.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to do this. This is just fun. You are your expert in your own world. You have a world in the community, whether it be your church, your school, one person. Just make the difference in one life. I get nurses at work that ask me, and I'm more than happy to help because everybody has questions. There's no shame in asking a question. It was very interesting to see that more women than men asked questions in the classroom because they were fearless to find out the answers. And we got to encourage both genders to have equal curiosity. There's no shame in not knowing something. The only shame, I would say, is not asking the question in the first place.
Right. A teacher once told me the only dumb questions are the ones you don't ask. That's exactly how we feel. There's nothing too basic. It's always worth a discussion. And once you ask one basic question, which I consider becoming financially literate, you just start to get smarter and smarter by asking those next level questions. So we're going to kick it over to the interview, but we want you to always remember it's never too late to start. It's better late than never. And it's always the right time to catch up to Fi.
All right. Enjoy the episode.
All right, so you got to tell us, what is your status with the school now?
I'm a full professor now. So I'm a professor of agricultural and resource economics. I got my final promotion July 1st this year.
Congratulations.
And
Yep.
what made you do this with bringing personal finance influencers, podcasters into your class once a year to talk about personal finance with college students who are sponges for this information?
So I actually have a good story as to why I did that. You can see I have a few degrees.
Yeah.
I have an undergraduate degree in mathematics and economics, a master's degree in agricultural, food, and resource economics from Michigan State, and a PhD in business administration from Arizona State University. But somehow, in that long list of education, I never had a personal finance class. So when I got hired here and I got exposed to the benefits that I had at my disposal, such as the 401ks and the retirement plans, and I had the option to go all 401k or do a hybrid pension plan, I didn't know what any of that meant, even though I had a PhD in business administration.
How old were you then?
I was 28.
Wow.
And part of it is because I grew up on a farm. And so my parents, all their investment was in cattle and land. And that's what they use for their retirement. My dad always said if something happened to him, we could sell the cattle.
Wow.
Which is true. That's how farmers have a lot of their retirement planning. It's the land or the livestock. So they didn't have 401ks. So I didn't grow up with it in my family. I didn't get it taught to me at any of the university classes that I took, even though I wasn't, I've taken Calculus 4, I've taken futures and options markets, but I never took a personal finance class. So when I got all those options, I called my Aunt Eve Lewis, who is good friends with Jackie. And my Aunt Eve left the farm and she went into corporate America where she had a 401k and she was a member of BetterInvesting. It was all about investing in the stock market. So I was like, all right, my parents can't help me. I didn't get a class on this. So I called Aunt Eve and she was like so excited that I asked this question. And 3 hours later, I knew who invented the 401k. But because of that, I felt like I needed students to understand what happens to them once they get a job and the options they have, and then the importance of investing. And I had a mutual fund that my parents had set up for me. So I technically was invested, but I wasn't actively managing anything. And when I started learning about all this, I was like, this is really interesting. And of course, being a professor, I love education and learning. So I started reading all the books. Like, you can look over at my bookshelf. One of those bookshelves is all basically investing books. The first book that I read was Warren Buffett's 800-page biography because I also had just had the experience of going to the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting. So the namesake of our Morrison School of Agribusiness at Arizona State University, what he would do every year is take a group of PhD students, some undergrads and faculty to that event because they, were shareholders. And we got to go to the investor breakout sessions that they belonged to. And so I fell in love with learning about investing from that. I'd also then, after I went to that conference, I just started my job here. And I also got tasked with teaching our futures and options class. And it had not been taught for like 10 years here. And our department head at the time was like, we have to start teaching this class again, and you're going to do it. So it kind of all happened at once, that I'm trying to figure out which retirement plan to get into for my work, realizing I don't really know anything about those. And then I just come fresh off of the Berkshire Hathaway Annual Shareholders Conference. And I'd just gotten tasked with teaching futures and options, which I didn't know a whole ton about at the practical introductory level. I could derive the Black-Scholes option pricing model, but I didn't actually know how to buy or sell a futures contract on an exchange. And so I had to do it for my work and then also personal life, and I got really interested in it. And he helped me connect the dots with my retirement account, connected me with Jackie. And I was just like, I need to teach students about all this too, because this will happen to them also if they go out on the workforce and they probably haven't had a college class on it.
See, I think that's a really big deal because this is your space where you have control. You had the control to be able to provide this information to your students. So I'm just curious, how did you even get that going? Like, did you have to get permission to do it? Did you have to get some kind of grant? Like, what did you have to do to be able to actually bring us in or anyone else in to talk about financial literacy for your students that's not required, so you're doing this on your own?
So our department head is actually really big into personal finance, the department head we had at the time. This is an agricultural and resource economics department. We actually work one-on-one. We have personnel that are called extension specialists, and they work one-on-one with farmers in the state to do their personal finances for their businesses. And we have area specialists that do that. And our department head, that was always his side hobby. He's retired now, but he would actually help people with personal finances, I think, through his church group. But that was always his passion as well. So there's a lot of faculty that have that passion. We actually do that with farmers in the state, go over their finances. So this department was well situated to provide that education to our students. And when I mentioned doing something like this in class, my department head, Dr. Gerloff at the time, was like, do it. Because he's very passionate about it anyways. And so we also then have this program, the Farm Credit Mid-America Enrichment Program, that Farm Credit Mid-America provides to our department to help students with financial education. Oh. And so they give us $25,000 a year to fund events like this. So like
shout out to them. What was the name of the organization again?
Farm Credit Mid-America. And it's the Farm Credit Mid-America Enrichment Program. So they're sponsoring you guys coming here.
Well, that's great. And we're happy to be here. Jackie's been doing this for what, 5 years?
It's been 5 years. And I've been happy to do it because we share that passion for financial literacy for young people.
And then she invited me to do it when we started the podcast. I've done it now for 2 years, and it is so much fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
The students are just sponges for this. What's been the reception of just one day of personal finance for them?
They love it. They love it. And I mean, I get questions even from students who have graduated that are like, hey, we opened a Robinhood account in your class and my stock is doing awesome. It's up this much since when I had your class. And I'll have students, former students, call me and say, hey, what do you think about the market? What do you think it's doing? And of course, I have students also asking about the futures and options market and agricultural commodity prices as well. And we have specialists in our department that follow commodity markets also. It works together with the class, the futures and options markets class, that I have a little section on personal finance to take a break from the tedious nature of the class and do something fun next for them. So it works really well in this class because the futures market, we have to learn what an exchange is. The easiest way to learn what an exchange is to take the stock market. Stocks are a lot easier to understand than a futures contract. So that's how I set up the class. I actually start talking about the stock market before I get into the futures market and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Intercontinental Exchange, and futures contracts, which aren't ownership of a company, but they're an actual contract that you deliver at a future date at a price agreed upon today. So it's a contract that's trading on an exchange. Way more abstract, complicated idea than a stock.
What's interesting is, the stock market's interesting. It's fascinating, the math of it and the growth of money. But we spent probably 80% of our time talking about mindset and the basics, and then, save the gap, create a gap, and your savings rate, which is your big lever. There are some basic concepts and mindsets that you have to get right first. And Jack and I are very passionate about that. And the journey, whether you're 20 or 50, is the same. And we outlined that a little bit, I think. So I felt very good about what we got across today.
Yeah, and all due to you, Karen, because you have clearly found a way to make the connection. And arguably, if you agree with this, Bill, almost every subject, there is some way to connect personal finance in some way.
Totally.
Yeah. As we've said before, it's a universal language that is not taught in school.
And people are uncomfortable to talk about it too, because it's personal finance. So it's personal. And so you have to be comfortable talking about money and your money. And so there's kind of a taboo that you're not supposed to do that. And so I want students to start feeling comfortable asking those questions, because if you don't dig into your personal finance or have that conversation, we even brought it up in class about talking to a significant other about personal finance. I mean, when you're on a date, you don't want to say, hey, do you have a bunch of debt? But before you get married, you probably should have that conversation. So that's also, I want students to feel comfortable having that conversation and not being afraid to ask questions. Because I'm an open book, so they can ask me anything they want about finances.
What was interesting was we asked before the class for everybody, actually made it a test question, bonus credit. What questions do you have about personal finance? They're all age 20 or so, juniors and seniors. And we got tons of questions, and they were great questions. They are all the questions that I wanted to ask myself or know to ask myself. And so there were too many questions to answer in our hour and 20 minutes with them. So we have this idea, don't we, Jackie, of taking a student or two along with Karen and doing a podcast over this. I don't think anybody's done this, where we answer the questions of 20-year-olds on a podcast so that it exists for all 20-year-olds out there who are early starters, but they're pertinent to late starters.
Yeah, it's like asking, you shall receive. When I saw that long list, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I said, oh my gosh, this is awesome, because I wanted to read your prompt you wrote for the question, because I was wondering if you gave them certain buzzwords, because they were using really good words in their questions, like retirement and things like that. I'm like, these, kids don't think about retirement, but there were some other terms. And when I read your prompt did not include those terms. So those were original thoughts. And so that was very valuable. And it will also help us for the next session that we have. We covered a lot of it in it, but it helped to confirm or let us know that certain things were important or not important. So I love that you ask that question of them on an exam, but also you do a pre-personal finance. Yeah, tell us about that.
So the way that this works is the students had an exam on Tuesday, and we have spring break next week. So what do I teach on a Thursday before spring break? I want to do something fun. So this is when I bring Bill and Jackie in to do this crash course on personal finance. And so the class period before their exam, we do a little study session, but then I go into some crash lessons on personal finance. And so I go over a PowerPoint that I have too. And I take them through Credit Karma, that app. I show them mine. I don't care, because I think it's really hard as a college student to not have debt. And so at least that app allows you to track it all and know what you have open, and then also relate that back to your credit score. Because your credit score is going to be determinant of what interest rates you get on all kinds of loans. And so that's something they can start thinking about as they get ready to start finally making a good income with their college degree, is minimizing the debt and then trying to figure out how to save more. And then they'll know. Also, I teach them a little bit about 401ks and Roth. I always tell them like now's a great time to be in a Roth IRA.
So that's how they were so good with the terminology and things like that. I could tell. So some of the stuff you talked about definitely stuck.
Yeah, and they wanted to know more. They had so many questions.
What was interesting in the class where we asked some questions of them, and only a few had started investing. Like maybe 2 out of 30 had a Roth IRA. It hadn't been open for them yet. And we talked about the basic foundation that they need to assess. And we talked about the money and the math and the tactics, but we just didn't have enough time to get into the details. So this podcast and helping them learn about, okay, these are all the things that you need to think about and look at so that you're intentional with your money, you're conscious of your money, you're not unconscious. And we talked about the difference between rich and wealthy. We talked about just basic things, needs and wants. We talked about Grubhub. We talked about Starbucks and how little things can make a big difference over time.
Yep. Getting them to think about the question is really important. Then you all also provided really good resources to follow up with and even gave us some books, some great books. And so I think getting them curious about it. And then in this day and age, there's plenty of ways to get resources, but to point them towards the good ones is really important. So now they were taking pictures of all the QR codes you had up there. Right. So now they'll know where to research their question.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I wanted to get across today, because people know that you're not going to remember 1, 2, 3 things from a lecture, but it was interactive. We were dialoguing, and that's important. We were telling stories, and so I hope they remember it, but to ignite curiosity and to realize that money is a powerful tool. It's a universal language. It's potential energy. It's not something to spend. We talked about lifestyle inflation and so many things that are critical to get right on the beginning of your journey, which makes such a magnified difference over time, because it's all about not retirement, but time freedom to do what you want to do because you want to do it and not necessarily have to work till you're 70.
Yeah, and I think also it was important for us to share our mistakes and the things we did wrong. So hopefully that resonated with them. They don't have to be perfect. We weren't perfect. So it's always like a pleasure coming here. So my last question, Karen, is let's say there's other professors at university or college, maybe even a high school that is interested in trying to get some good personal finance or bringing someone in like us to spend time with their students to talk about personal finance. How would they go about it?
Well, I think getting the students interested in it is a good start. But with personal finance, that should be easy because it's like, do you want to have a life where you can afford it and retire? And if you're good at investing, that's the best way to actually making a bunch of money and being wealthy. Like, who doesn't want to have more money to less? If you want to have more money to less, you should be interested in learning personal finance. So getting students to want to learn about it. But fitting it into a curriculum, like you said, you can fit it into almost any curriculum that you have. It's easy as an economics department to fit it into a curriculum. It works with futures and options because that is a finance course that we offer here. But I also teach our executive seminar series class where we teach soft skills to students and teach them how to do well in the job market and socialization skills. We bring successful alumni back to talk to our students. We have our Herbert College of Agriculture Young Alumni Council, all 20 of them come back and have a luncheon with them so they can even learn like etiquette around a meal with young professionals. So it could easily fit into that type of classroom curriculum as well, because you're getting ready to go out into the workforce. So I think almost every department at the University of Tennessee has like a career readiness course to get the students ready to go out in the job market. So it fits in there perfectly as well.
Well, I loved what you've done with like a personal finance day in any class, because you can do maybe a personal finance certificate or curriculum, and that can seem onerous. And yeah, we're going to talk about money for 8 weeks. But if you just want to ignite interest in their own education, their own monetary stewardship, one day may be all it takes. And so I would encourage all professors, all teachers to reach out to this generous personal finance community. I mean, you don't want them to be a banker or from the financial services industry. You want them to be somebody who's lived the life and garnered the knowledge of personal finance that's really universal. So I commend you on doing this. I'd like to see broader curriculums. I'd like to see universities actually require maybe an 8-week, because we didn't have enough time to get to everything, but it wouldn't take many days to get there. And there are universities that have done this. And we're going to partner you up with my sister, who's trying to do a pilot project and a study on virtual personal finance courses or certificates that are at least offered. But maybe eventually it's required, because we do a lot of theoretical education.
Right. Yeah, universities are notorious for.
Where's the practical skill set, right?
Yeah, that's where our department is doing a lot of work, is doing practical, like internships, study abroads, get the students out there doing these things, because it's not just, education doesn't just take place in the classroom. So we do a good job in our department getting students outside of the classroom to learn.
So they're going to see this on our platform. We're going to talk about this on Catching Up to Fi. Where would other teachers or professors, how would they reach you to say, how'd you do this? What do I need to do? Because I want to do this too.
Oh, they just have to email me.
There you go.
DeLong, DELONG 39@utk.edu. You can Google me. I have a faculty profile that you can look up, and my email address is there.
We'll definitely put that in the show notes. But, our goal is to spread financial literacy as much as we possibly can. That's why we jumped at the chance to work with you. And we've done it in some other venues. So we're recording this for Financial Literacy Month. And I love, for wherever you are and whatever you do, how can you have an impact on teaching someone else about personal finance? And you've absolutely done that. You didn't ask for permission. There wasn't an infrastructure already set up for you. You just did it. And we've been doing this for at least 5 years. And we figured it was definitely time to kind of introduce you to a wider audience to hopefully inspire other people that may be interested in doing this too.
Yeah, I want to encourage our audience, our late starters. They may think that they're beginners and they don't know so much, but honestly, they're very powerful mentors. Once you've entered the journey, once you've entered the arena of how powerful personal finance and money as a tool for a balanced and wonderful best life is, help the young people in your lives. Make it viral. Make it accessible. Money is not taboo. Help your kids. Go to classes. You can do this too. Jackie and I, we're up there. We're financial experts and influencers, but you don't have to be that before you do the same thing we're doing.
Just have the conversation, because like I said, it's personal finance. And every case is different. That's why it is hard to teach as a class almost at a university, because until the student's going through it, and their journey is so different than maybe the person next to them. So if you can get more touch points of people that understand finance, maybe the older generation mentoring the younger generation and just having that conversation, so the younger generation knows that they can come and ask questions, because it's easier to go over it if you can just actually show people the numbers. But a lot of people don't want to show the numbers because it's a personal thing to look at inside someone's bank account. But that's kind of what you need to do. And that's what professional planners, financial planners do. But it's still nice that a student wouldn't have to go to a bank and get a personal financial planner. And if someone just came and talked to them and said, hey, I'll have an honest conversation with you about how you need to invest.
So true. Well, we appreciate you inviting us. This has been great. You had a great time, Bill?
Oh, lights me up.
And this is in your hometown. So you live in Knoxville.
That's what's so crazy.
This is my hood, the financial hood.
Because I knew Jackie.
Yeah.
I knew Jackie first, who's in Ohio, and Jackie and I became friends. And she's like, I'm doing a podcast, and my co-host lives in Knoxville.
Yeah, I'm like, what
I'm like, well, you need to come to my class.
Well, this is 6 degrees of separation, invite 5 people to our Catching Up to Fi community, help your community, help the kids, make them aware of the podcast, because you can't lecture at people. You have to show up when they're ready to hear it. And they're asking questions. We ask the kids to ask us questions, or adults, to ask us questions, and they ask great ones. And they're the same ones that you have, that anybody really has. They're universal.
Yeah, and we're not perfect. We take notes from Karen every single year to say, what do we need to change? What do we do different? But the big question, Karen, is you've always taken us to great places in Knoxville. So where on earth are we going to lunch today? Because we got to grab lunch, right?
I was thinking Cafe 4, Market Square. It's 70 degrees and sunny. We need to get out and, Market Square.
District. Yeah, I mean, we're doing this for lunch because we love it. This is not something, I would do this for free any
You are.
day of the week.
You are doing it.
But this has been such a pleasure. I am from
paid.
Ohio.
Yeah, it was not negative.
Well, I'm from cold Ohio, so it wasn't that great. So I'm loving it's 70 something degrees. It's nice and sunny outside. I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but you've got a huge office here. But this has been a joy. So let's go grab some lunch, Bill. You want to close this out?
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's never too late to start. Better late than never. And it's always
the right time to catch up to 5. Woohoo! So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. And our editor is Fritz Brazard. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofy.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to 5. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to 5. Cheers.